Hello, America. Dave Hodges here, host of the Common Sense Show. We are the show freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. Thank you so much for joining us. Really good to be with you. And we're going to talk to you about the elderly, but you're saying, I'm not elderly. I'm not 65 or over. You will be, and you have parents that are. And let me give you something really upsetting. If you're 30, 35, to say 45 or 50, you could get caught in a triple generational trap. Do you know what that means? That means you got to take care of your kids and you also have to take care of your aging parents. And what I'm about to tell you will greatly impact your burden if you're in that niche. If you're elderly, watch out because a prominent economic expert, I mean, very prominent, is saying that you have a really good chance of being homeless or living in an RV. And this is not hyperbole. We're brought to you by Noble Gold. And let me just say this to you very, very quickly. Gold is going to appreciate, estimated another 300, 400, 500%. Right now it's sitting at 4,400. It's going to skyrocket from here. If you want to get away from deflating cash where it loses, what, 3, 4, 5% a year in savings, it loses in 401ks and IRAs because it's backed by a failing dollar. You're going to get crushed with diminishing savings. What you've worked for is the victim of a silent tax. So what do? You call Noble Gold. They can fix your retirement issues. They can also get you on the path for making sure that you preserve your wealth. Now, here's the problem. Most people will say, that sounds really good, but they don't follow through. And then the day comes and you look at your bank statement, you go, whoa. And here's another day that can come. Dodd-Frank 2010 was written into the legal codes because they knew that one day the derivatives debt would come back and bite everybody in the butt that has a savings account. And rather you doing a bail in, we should say a bailout, you'll do a bail in where they'll take your savings to pay off banking debts. And that's legal. You're saying, oh, I don't want that. Okay, well, let Noble Gold help you with this. We're going to go through and we're going to talk to you about what's coming for the elderly. And this affects people ages 30 on up, not because you'll be there someday, but because you're going to have to help take care of these people that are your family members, thus creating an additional burden. We need to increase awareness right now that your traditional savings plan, your traditional 401k and IRAs, that's a thing of the past. Those things should be dinosaurs and let out to the pasture and put to sleep because they are not relevant. So what do? You call 877-646-5347, 877-646-5347. And this is a time when the ad blends right in with the presentation of the material. And I've got something here that Robert Kiyosaki wrote. And we really, really need to look at this. He says one asset will surge 400% in a year. This is gold. I think silver is a good companion because I think silver could even go higher than the 400% because of its shortage and the fact that China has so much of it and silver is needed for our high tech and also our weapon systems. If you don't know the name Robert Kiyosaki, wrote the classic book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And this guy is fantastic in terms of economic trends. He pulls no punches. He may be the most blunt economist out there. I'm going to read to you some excerpts here from what he has written. And I'm hoping that you take this to heart because our economy is in big, big trouble. And if you noticed, the war is starting up again, thus strangling more oil, thus pushing banks closer to the edge. 1974, ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act, was passed. Up until this time, employers basically guaranteed your income for life. Okay, well, after ERISA, the corporations got what they wanted. They got to dump the burden of retirement for a population that was beginning to live longer. We don't do that anymore. And they were wanted to be relieved of that obligation without appearing to being insensitive, unfair. And so they got the government to do their work for them. Surprise, surprise, right? And so what ended up happening is people went into 401ks and IRAs and things like this. This is why you need to go into a Noble Gold IRA or 401k, because it's backed by an appreciating asset rather than a failing dollar. Now, Kiyosaki said this was the major shift in retirement, and it's now coming home to roost on the baby boomers and their kids. ERISA set rules to protect pensions, but over time, many employers were moved away from these defined benefit plans, which promised a fixed income for life. And now this is really upsetting. I'm going to get down to here in the bottom and talk about the numbers. And you need to look at your numbers, see how they compare to this. The variability is showing up in data. In other words, we're not doing as well as we were. According to Fidelity, the average 401k balance for baby boomers is $249,300, so just under $250,000. The average IRA balance is $257,000. These figures fall far short of what many retirees will need to sustain their lifestyle. Just keep this in mind too. As homes continue to appreciate, your property taxes go up. And by the way, in the last 2 years, property taxes have tripled the rate of inflation on housing. Yeah, the governments are getting greedy. County governments are getting extremely greedy. Now, adding to the mess, Social Security and Medicare are broke. Millions of boomers will be homeless or living in RVs, according to Kiyosaki, as rising oil prices cause the food prices and fuel prices to rise. And like I said, property taxes too. And not only that, we have told you over and over, and we've shown you proof that the government fully intends to tax retroactively the equity in your home. And you don't really have anything in the equity. And you know what I mean by that? You didn't ask for inflation. Inflation makes your home worth more versus what you paid. But the reality is the only benefit you get is you get to give the government a higher property tax rate. That's the only benefit. Now, Social Security is facing pressure. A new report from the Congressional Budget Office projects that old age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, the program that pays retirees and survivor benefits, will run out of money in 6 years, 2032. According to the CBO, that shortfall will trigger a reduction in benefits, with payments dropping about 7%. The average cuts of roughly 28% annually between 2033 and 2036. How do you think that sits with you? Can you absorb this? Let me ask you this. Can your aging parents absorb this? I'm going to tell you, for most of you, the answer is no. 65% of Americans live month to month. They can't afford a $500 car repair bill. And you think they're going to absorb this in old age, where it's fixed income being eaten alive by inflation? Now you have these government pressures because they haven't managed the money. Do you know why they don't have the money? Well, because Congress is too busy paying themselves retirement for life, free medical for them and their family. Uh, this is absurd. And then, of course, they get to engage in a business practices that brings them millions that would put you and me in jail. Namely, I'm talking about insider trading in the stock market. Now, two things. Number one, will you please join me in a national effort, with a few exceptions like Thomas Massie, to toss them all, and I'm talking all GOP in the primary. We can't do any worse, but we need to send a message. We're done with you. We're done with your corruption. We're done with how you've ripped this country off for your benefit and the benefit of your corporate benefactors. We're done with it. And we unelect them. The next generation we get in, all of a sudden will have to put up a hand in the face of a corporation and say, hold on, I can't give you everything you want. Otherwise, I'll just be here 2 years or 6 years. Now, in the primary coming up, every congressional seat is open. With the Senate, 1/3 of the Senate goes up for reelection every 2 years. It's time to send the message. I'm not saying flip from GOP to Democrat, but we don't have a GOP. We have a uniparty, and we need to cut that cancer out now, because this country does have stage 4 cancer. When you look at the economic numbers we have, what is it? 50% of the economy is controlled by 1/10 of 1%. Really? And we call this capitalism, free enterprise. Free for who? It's time to take action. Now, the second thing you need to do, again, is get your gold and get your silver. There's no option here. Dave, I only have $500. Well, you know what? Next year at this time, you know what you're going to have? You're going to have about $470. So do you think maybe you should take that 500 rather than park it in a bank account where they'll give you 1/10 of 1% interest while they loan out loans for 7 to 20%? And then they have the fractional reserve banking. They can loan out $9 for every dollar you deposit. It's a rigged system. Stop participating in it. Keep operating capital in the bank. And people say, what, maybe 3 months of reserves? And then you need to insure your money by buying gold and silver. And again, that number for Noble Gold, 877-646-5347. If we sit back and do nothing, the trend is clear. They're replacing us with AI. The government's fine with that. They're systematically taking away our rights. I won't get into that right now, but that's happening. Right now, we're ranked 32nd in the Freedom Index for the world. Yet most Americans believe the propaganda. We're number one. Well, that's not according to what the studies tell us. And we're going to do some follow-ups on that. But we're being lied to and we're being taken advantage of, and it's time to call a halt and send these people packing. And while you're at it, preserve your wealth you've earned with Noble Gold. We'll see you back here next time.